Hello. Hello, this is Z Scott, the SEO Queen. I am coming to you live here on Facebook for a live Q&A. And today's topic is how to get onto Google Page One. Now, I'm going to wait for some more people to get on today, but I just wanted to let you know that I really want you to just come with your questions, pop them in the chat, and I want to answer any questions that you have about how to get your website onto Google Page One. Now, I started my professional journey when I was 12 years old. I went with my parents to the National Baptist Convention in Louisiana, and my father had written, along with his friends, some software to put the Bible online onto a computer. And I went with them, and they were selling the software, and I sold the bags. I sold the bags. I had a lot of fun. So, many years later, after I had went to school and worked at a Fortune 500 company, I had the opportunity to build a digital marketing company up from the ground. So basically, I was hired to build up this digital marketing agency, and that's what I did. And so I helped tons of companies. I talked to hundreds of companies a month, and identified their keywords, and I took that company from $0 in recurring revenue to $500,000 in 2 years. And it was an awesome opportunity. I had all this success, but I had this really I had this embarrassing situation. I had the secret. I've talked about this before. I was on food stamps in the midst of all the success. And so what I did, I felt like I wasn't being seen, I wasn't being heard, I wasn't being valued. And so I went to the owner of the company and asked on multiple occasions for a raise to enable me to, have a living wage. And at that point in time, I was refused. And so I left, and I started my own company. So once I started my own company, I was able to replace my income and go beyond that in just a few months. And so, I really understand what it feels like not to be seen, not to be heard, and not to be valued. That's why I'm so passionate about helping companies get onto Google Page One so that they can. Hey, Chantel. Hey, Don. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining on. So I know exactly what it feels like not to be heard, not to be seen, and not to be valued. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting companies onto Google Page One. There are 1.2 trillion searches annually that happen just on Google alone. And I think about 44% of all consumers start their product searches on Amazon.com. And this is a great statistic for all you business owners. Only 9% of small businesses are leveraging video marketing and leveraging YouTube as a valid marketing tactic. So the thing that's so great about search engine optimization, the thing that is so great about Google is that you have all these different opportunities, these different, we call them vertical search categories. You have the web, you have the news, you have your images, and you have video. And so you can optimize your digital asset to be on not only the web, the main Google Page One, but the image Page One, the video Page One. So you have all these opportunities, all these avenues to bring your best client to you on Google. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I just want to know, what questions do you guys have about digital marketing, specifically search engine optimization, and how to get the free traffic coming to your site? Thank you so much for the hearts and the lights. So I see we have the mogul Chantel Amsterdam from Canada online. We have a Swad, the music mogul online. So great to see you. Hello, Don. So nice to see you there too. If you guys have any questions, I know you guys have some questions please feel free to dive in. I'm actually broadcasting live on both my personal page and my business fan page. So we have our first question from Aswad. He asked, how can I get free traffic? That's a great question. You can get free traffic by using search engine optimization. So the steps in search engine optimization, there's over 200 factors that that Google is looking at in its algorithm. And the way the search engine works is that when you go to google.com and you put in a phrase, you're actually looking at a copy of the internet on Google servers. So once you go to Google and you see the results and you click through, you're looking at a cached version of the website that you're visiting. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that's the way Google works. So once understanding that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that Google is putting your website in their cache. And not only are they putting your website in their cache, you want to make sure that they're putting your website, your image, your videos on Google page 1. And the way you do that is making sure that your website is as relevant as possible for the key phrases that you want to be found for. So the first step to a successful search engine optimization campaign is to make sure you are using the same words on your content, on your image, on your video, on your website that people are looking for you by. Now, what does that look like? If thousands of people are looking for, high pigment lipstick per month, you want to make sure that you're using high pigment lipstick. You want to use it in the same exact spelling in your content. And a good rule of thumb is you don't want to put any more than 3 to 4 times your target phrase into every 300 words on your site on one web page. Now, I'm going to be answering your question as well ongoing throughout this hour. And Chantel has a question. What should be considered when composing content for a site you're launching? Okay, this is a great question. You want to, number one, you want to know what keywords that are relevant to your content. You want to know which words are getting traffic. And not only do you want to know which words are getting traffic, you want to know which long and short tail keywords are getting traffic. So I know a little bit about what you're doing, Chantel, but I'm just going to pull, an example out of the air. So if you have a phrase like, I'm going to use t-shirts as my example. So if you have a t-shirt, but you have black and white t-shirts, you have red t-shirts. If you put red t-shirt, that's considered a long tail terms. If you have red, the letter T, and then shirts. So you want to make sure that your key phrases contain the short tail key phrases that have a lot of traffic on it. And then you also want to use related terms as well. Does that make sense? Are you guys following me so far? Oh, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you for the compliment. Does that make sense, Chantel, about the content? Okay, so I'm gonna keep on going. So once you know what your keywords are, the other thing you want to do is make sure that your pages have either an image or video as well. You also want to know when you're creating your content, you want to know what are the important pages that you want to link. So you want to have at least a link, 1 or 2 links to other pages within your site. You want to have a link to a high authority page off your site. And you also want to make sure that your contents, the meta titles and the meta description are optimized with that and contain your target key phrases. Yes, you want to make sure that your content has your meta titles and your meta description has your target key phrases. This is at a minimum. And then to go back to Swad's question about how can I get free traffic, you also want to make sure when you launch a website is that you submit it to Google. And the way you submit your website to Google is by going to google.com/webmasters. When you go to google.com/webmasters, you can add your website in that interface. And that's kind of like the telephone to Google. It's like, ring, ring, Google, and they answer, and you're like, please index my site. And so in this interface, you can submit your sitemap, you can submit your robots.txt, you can submit each page one at a time. Every website has a crawl bucket of 500 individual pages and 10 pages that are crawled along with every single page on your site that's also linking within that page. So if you have a top navigation, when say you crawl with the extensive crawl bucket, the 10 slots, one of the 10 slots, it will go and crawl that page and also every page that's linked to that home page. So the crawl bucket is really, really powerful. And I like to use that to get my clients' websites indexed pretty fast. So, well, you want to set up Google Webmaster Tools as soon as your website is online and your content is ready for consumption. Google Webmaster Tools is one of the first things you want to do. You want to set up Google Webmaster Tools before you set up your Google Analytics, actually. So once you submit your website to Google via Google Webmaster Tools, you also want to go and make sure your website has Google Analytics. And then you will also, this is something that a lot of business owners do not do. I've cleaned this up, I'd say 90% of the time when I get a new campaign, is to configure Google Analytics so that it talks directly to Google Webmaster Tools. Because many years ago, I remember this because I was freaking out, Google removed the keyword tracking out of Google Analytics. However, they just moved it. And so when you configure your Google Webmaster Tools to talk to your Google Analytics, you can pull into Google Analytics exactly how many times your website comes up in search results, how many impressions you got, how many searches you got, and then you can also see your conversion rate from the search engine result page to your website, which is really powerful because you can really see how effective your meta title and your meta description are for people when they come to your site. And so this is really helpful to help improve your traffic. So going back to the slots question, you can get more traffic to your website by having a call to action within your meta title, your meta description. You want to have your keywords in the meta title. You want to have your call to action in the meta description. So trying to see, I see Tamara has joined. Welcome. Okay, whenever you have any other questions or you want me to pause, let me know. So to answer those two questions more in depth, to get more traffic, you want to make sure that all your images that you're using within your content have your alt tags. Now, what is an alt tag? An alt tag is kind of like a tooltip. So when you're online and you hover your mouse over an image and you see a little text that pops up, that's the alt tag. The alt tag has two purposes. So the alt tag has, for people who are visually impaired, if they have a audio device configured to their browser, the tooltip or the alt tag will tell that visually impaired person audio, via sound, what that image is. So the other thing that's good about the alt tag is that it tells Google what the image is. And so as a result, Google will rank your image as you've described it. Now, don't try to call an image something that it's not, because Google's algorithm is smart enough to know if you label a cat a dog and a dog a cat that it's been mislabeled. So there's no circumventing the content there. So one other thing that's really important when you talk about tags and website code, you want to look at schema. There's an open source protocol called Schema. You can visit the website at schema.org. That's schema.org. When you go to schema.org, you'll see as you explore, they have different tags that you can use on your content to submit to Google. And Google also has a markup tool as well, which you can access via the Google Webmaster Tools. And the whole point of Schema is to give Google more information about your content so that that content can be categorized, indexed more effectively for Google, because Google's in the business of selling traffic. That 1.2 trillion searches a year, a lot of that traffic is being sold through PPC. Now, I'm also a Google AdWords professional, so I can tell you that I've seen clicks go for as high as $100 to as little as $1. So when you do the math, you can see that this traffic is very valuable and people pay a lot of money over time for traffic. That's why search engine optimization is so powerful, because it's a great way to keep your investment in your traffic consistent and to lower the price. Now, some of these keywords that are high click, that are $25, $100, that's just for a person to visit your site. Most websites convert at a minimum of 5%. So if you're paying for 100 clicks at $100 and only 5% of those people buy your product, you can see that your profit margin is there's pressure on your profit margin. So that's why SEO is so helpful. So thank you so much for that compliment. I'm going to like some of these compliments, some of these comments. So one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get, into the paralysis of analysis. The thing about the web is that you can always change things. You can always change things. And I want to urge you guys to, when you're building your website, do what you can, but the data will always give you more insight. So no one gets it right the first time with, call to actions, with, the right keywords, because there's always a keyword that has more search volume. And so, do you guys have any other questions for me before I go into the next way to get onto Google page one? Okay, so I'm gonna keep it going. So the next tactic you can use to get onto Google page one is your social signals. Contrary to popular belief, social media is a good thing. Google's algorithm actually looks at how many times your pages on your site have been shared, commented on, and different things. And based on how popular your content is on social media, that can positively influence your keyword rankings. Yeah, don't stress if you're doing the wrong things. The wrong things, and I'm going to talk about black hat SEO, but that's like 2000, 1999. Black hat, well, more like 2000, 2001. Google wasn't around in 1999, but yeah. So you want to make sure that you are not overstuffing your keywords. I talked about that keyword density. I don't want to get into too technical terms. I want to make sure it's easy to understand. But you want to make sure you're not using your target keywords over and over and over again. No, they don't take really note of who's doing it. I mean, if you share your content and you get your friends to like it and you get your friends to share it, I mean, if you have 10 of your friends, and I know everybody on here has more than 10 friends, get them to share your content when you post it and they like it, comment on it. It's a great thing. Now, one thing that is really a really nice trick besides using Google Webmaster Tools to get your site indexed pretty quick. Another powerful tool is to use the Facebook debugger tool. Now, when you submit your URL to Facebook's debugger tool and ask Facebook to scrape your links every time you change the content, that's another way to get your website into Google's index and higher up on the rankings. Another way to get your website higher up the rankings is using a technique called pinging. P-I-N-G. Now, what pinging is what you're basically telling a bunch of websites, blogs, pinging services, and everything else. You're telling a lot of those services to crawl your website. Because there's more on the internet than just Google's crawlers. And Google has a lot of associated, affiliated networks, softwares, websites, etc. So that's another way to communicate to Google through Google's partners through pinging. And I actually have a link. If you go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/the SEO Queen, you will see there a link to the pingler. I'm going to, after this is over, I'll post another link there. Yeah, that I'm glad to hear that, Don, that you're gonna try that. That's awesome. Yeah, so I have another question. What do I think about Wix website? So Wix, many years ago, when Wix got started, Wix was, the URLs were very unfriendly. They were not SEO friendly. The problem with Wix is that you're oftentimes limited on some of the things that you can do. However, I have been seeing more and more Wix sites being able to index onto Google page 1. However, you're going to have to put in a lot more work in order to get Wix websites to rank. But, I really think that there is some value to Wix. And, if you're an entrepreneur on a budget, Wix is a great place to start. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Mark Anthony. So glad to see so many people on the live, and this is a live Q&A with me, Z Scott, the SEO Queen, and I'm answering your questions all about how to get onto Google page 1. So far, we talked about your keywords, using high search terms in your content. We talked about schema, using schema to mark up your content. We talked about alt tags. We talked about submitting your website to Google via Google Webmaster Tools. What's the best website company as far as, what do you mean, website design, website marketing? What do you mean, SWAT? Oh, design. Well, my company, the SEO Queen, TSQ Marketing Inc., we do website design, so I'm going to have to say my company. And I want to urge you who are on the call, if you haven't already, if you want to connect with me, you can go to the SEOqueen.net and download my ebook. It's free, 101 Ways to Improve Your Marketing and Sales. And, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you so much. Thank you for that vote, that public vote of support. Um, oh, absolutely. So, if you want to get to the top of your niche by being on Google page 1 and get your share of the 1.2 trillion searches that happen annually on Google alone, then you can book a Reach More Clients Power Session with me. And what we'll do is identify your best transactional keywords to bring in your ideal prospect and identify all the things that are holding your website back from ranking in the way that you would like it to rank. And I would love to chat with you. Let me grab the link to the Reach More Client Power Session right now. Let me grab that. Yeah, you can just, yeah, so you can go ahead and click that link to, I freed up some slots on my schedule. There's some slots on there available today and tomorrow and a few other days this week on my schedule. So you can schedule it at your convenience. So that's really, really cool. So thank you, Don. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so when you talk about, I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into that question. What's the best website design company? I would also, I'm trying to get this light better here. Okay. Um, I think the best content management system from a results standpoint is either a custom coded um, design. I've seen custom coded designs perform really, really well, but those are really cost prohibitive unless you're a multinational conglomerate. Those can be very expensive when you talk about hiring coders and software developers in-house. That's very cost prohibitive. However, I really like WordPress. WordPress is really search engine friendly. You can make URLs that are very clean. One of the problems that I've had with Wix, the challenges I've had with Wix in the past is that their URLs are not very clean. You're not able to take out some of the characters. Since Wix has started, since I've had problems with that, I will say that their URLs have gotten better. But like I said before, a lot of the way their websites are built, they're built on an Ajax. And so you can't even view the code simply. You have to, there's certain things you have to do in order to even view the code. So from just a technical standpoint, from just a Google crawlers, being able to crawl your data and being able to see things easily, I would say Wix is not the best option, even now with all the improvements that they've made. But WordPress is really, really great. It's a content management system that is has a PHP database with PHP scripts to create the HTML, and so by the time your content is dynamically generated and rendered in the browser, all that Google sees is HTML, simple HTML or scripts, depending on how many different functionalities you have involved in your website. So for me, WordPress is one of the best SEO friendly platforms available. I love WordPress. And WordPress, you can also use, oh, thank you so much, Glenda. Thank you. You could also use WordPress for e-commerce websites. WordPress has a version, a theme called WooCommerce that interfaces with any other theme that you're using, which is pretty powerful. It has a shopping cart. It has shopping carts. That software can get pretty cost prohibitive as well. Yeah, I can talk for days about content management systems, but I personally like WordPress. I've used Shopify, I've used Magento, I've used ZenCard, I've used BigCommerce. I mean, there's tons of e-commerce sites out there, but the one that I really, really, really like, I like WordPress. Now, one thing about getting onto Google Page One that's really, really important that I want to talk about too is hosting. Not all hosting is created equal because we live in a world now where hackers are looking for places where they can place their content and rank it so they can drive the traffic that they want without paying for hosting, without paying for a website, they basically want a place to just take their content, which is easy for them to create using scripts. So they dynamically generate all this content. You know, they take these CSV files and create this content, and they look for places to put it. So if you go with unsecured, cheap hosting, you can run into some of the problems that some of my clients have ran into. I'm going to be releasing a white paper soon on the whole process that it took me to get all this content, over 200,000 pages of hacked content out of Google Index that was placed on their server. So that's one thing I would greatly urge you not to do, is do not use cheap hosting. One of the great things about using a Wix site, though, going back to that question, is that if you can't afford X amount of dollars for hosting a year and other things, going with something like Wix is great because they provide all the security. They make sure your website is up and all that good stuff. But when you start paying for it yourself, it's critical to use the right hosting. I will be posting on my page. If you go to my business page, www.facebook.com/SEO Queen, if you go to my Facebook business page, I'll be posting a link to the hosting company that I highly recommend. Yeah, you can tell if hosting, that's a great question. You can tell which hosting is secure by, the company. Like I went through a point in time, this was over a couple of years ago, where my websites were being hacked. They literally were being hacked. It seemed like every month. So my site would go down and I had to restore it and rebuild it, yada, yada, yada. But my site, ever since I migrated all my WordPress over to this one company, I have had 100% uptime, 100%. So, and if you don't remember, I'll reach out back to you so you can get the hosting company. And also, when I post this video on YouTube, you can look in the description. I'll put a link to the hosting company that I highly recommend, because I have had just flawless support, flawless uptime, and it's given me peace of mind. And it's given me peace of mind and everything. And so, Swad, please go. If you look at the pinned comment, I put a link to my schedule. Please look at my schedule, connect with me so that I can consult you one-on-one so you can get the individual consultation that you need for your questions about your website, keywords, your hosting, website security, all that good stuff. Yeah. One strategy, no matter what hosting company you're currently using, this is one thing that I really like, and I highly recommend this, is two-factor authentication. Now, two-factor authentication requires you to have a code texted to your phone every time you log into your cPanel. So I'm not exactly sure what GoDaddy and Bluehost use for their website security, but I had a situation a few months ago, earlier this year. I was on my way to church and I got a text message from my GoDaddy account, because I use GoDaddy to purchase domains, and they told me that someone was trying to log into my account. So two-factor authentication is definitely the way to go, because that way you can make sure that your website is secure in that way. Now, hackers can get around that if you're on a non-secured server. So if you're using shared hosting, if you're on a shared hosting server, which is usually any hosting that's less than, $10 a month, $5 a month, most of those providers like GoDaddy and Bluehost, all of those servers are shared hosting. So you're sharing an IP address with however many companies are on that server with you. And so hackers, they get into those infrastructures and wreak havoc. So I know that my client that got hacked was on GoDaddy. And so I got hacked and I was on Bluehost. So I think GoDaddy has a managed WordPress hosting package now. So thank you so much for sharing my video. I see that. Thank you so much for sharing. So this was the most annoying experience for me, and I realized that as an entrepreneur, I could not cut corners in this area. And then there's actually two hosting companies now that I think of it that I highly recommend, and so I'm gonna post those on my Facebook group. Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, this is hosting is so important. How fast your website loads. Page speed is also an important factor when looking at how your website ranks. So I've talked about alt tags, meta title, meta description, keywords, schema, page speed, website hosting. For any big e-commerce websites, I would highly recommend either a virtual private server or a dedicated server. Now, a virtual private server is cheaper than a dedicated server. Dedicated servers tend to be more expensive. Dedicated servers I've seen as low price as $100 a month on up. So there are some options that you can use, but hosting. I probably will write something up about hosting because hosting is very, very, very important. Very important to get the right hosting company. Um, yeah, so for those who are just joining, who are just joined, I wanted to let you know if you want to get to the top of your niche by being on Google page one and get your share of the 1.2 trillion searches that are happening just on Google alone annually, then please book a Reach More Clients Power Session with me, and we will identify your best transactional keywords and any other issues that are holding your website back from reaching your ideal prospect and getting on Google page one and getting the traffic that you know that it can. If you looked at the pinned comment, you can just click that link and it'll take you straight to my schedule. I look forward to chatting with you soon. So I have 20 more minutes left for this cute live Q&A session, and I'm gonna look and see if there's any other questions that I need to answer. I want to make sure I answer Chantel's question. How can you tell if the hosting, and the only answer I can give to you on that is number one, make sure you have two-factor authentication. Yes, you can use Cloudflare and some other services, but I personally have found that those services are not, a silver bullet. The hosting companies that I currently deal with have kept my websites and my email up 100%, and I love them. I love what they're doing, and yeah. So we talked about social media, sharing your content on your personal page, getting your friends to share that content on Facebook is a great way to get more visibility on Google. It's a great way to get more keyword rankings. So social signals, we talked about the content. I like to get my content a minimum of 300 words per page, a maximum of 900. Research is showing that long form content, 2,000 words is ranking really, really well. Um, yes, I do have service packages specifically designed for startup companies. I have a question from Chantel. I do have done for you packages designed for startup companies. I do, and I would love for you to book a Reach More Clients Power Session with me so we can discuss that at length. Um, okay, so Yeah, I think Chantel, I think I've sent you my generic proposal before that has my pricings in it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. Glad you're booking. Look forward to talking with you soon. Really look forward to talking with you soon because I know I can help you. You know, the thing that I'm so passionate about is helping businesses be seen, heard, and valued online. And that is just my zone of genius. You know, I know what it feels like, you know, to not be seen, heard, and valued. And that was me when I was building this other company up. And actually, you know, it's happened to me multiple times. That's why I'm so passionate about empowering entrepreneurs to take control of their destiny and get the traffic that their websites deserve. Because, you know, over the years, I have looked at tons of niches and none of them are so crowded that you can't get on Google page one. And also one thing I've noticed online is that the way consumers, the way businesses are searching for services is constantly changing. And that's one thing that I offer to my clients on an ongoing basis is keyword auditing. And that allows me to see what terminology is rising in its popularity in the marketplace. That is very important when the terminology changes. That's a golden opportunity for you as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, to slip in there and get Google page one visibility for the terminology that people are starting to use new out the gate. So it's hard. It's often hard for big companies to make swift changes to their marketing strategies. That's why you know, working with me is something that is advantageous because I realize that things happen swiftly online, and I can always alter your your campaign. You're not limited by the keywords for your campaign, and you're not locked in for the duration of your campaign to those keywords because I know that the way people search changes. It can change from year to year. It can change from season to season and change from month to month. Let me see what other questions are there. Yeah, so one other thing, and the last thing I want to talk about that is really, really important in order to get onto Google page one is backlinks. Now, backlinks is just a fancy way of saying, you know, a website is linking to you. So one of the easiest ways to get backlinks is to make sure that your website, your target website that you want to rank is in the description on all your social media, that you have your Facebook business page claimed and created, and your Twitter profile, that it has the link, your Instagram profile, that it has the link. You want all of these places to have your domain name, your site that you're targeting to rank. You want to make sure that that URL is being linked to from other places. Now, the strategy that you can go and use right now to build backlinks for your site is one that I really, really like. And this is pinning on Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is often looked at as a social media site, but it really is the most popular social bookmarking site online. Now, a social bookmark site is a place where you can save content. Now, Delicious, Stumble Upon, those are two other sites that are really great for bookmarking content. Those bookmarks are looked at by Google as social signals and also backlinks. So, yeah, welcome, Sam. Thank you so much for joining. Social bookmarking is really, really a nice, fast way to kind of kill two birds with one stone. You have the social signals on one side, and then you also have the backlink on the other. Another great way to get backlinks is through Twitter. Every tweet has its own page, its web page. So the more you tweet out your pages on your website, the more content more backlinks you're creating. So Twitter and Pinterest are two places that are really great to get those social signals and get those backlinks going. I have seen, like if you have different product categories, different blog posts, whether you're a B2C or B2B, it is so awesome to pin your content onto Pinterest. Another thing you can do to identify which hashtags you should use so you can also get interaction on Pinterest is hashadit.com and hashtagify.me. So that's hashadit. I'm going to put this in the comments. So hashadit.com, that's a good one, and hashtagify.me. Those are two great websites to research what hashtags are relevant for your niche, for your products, for your services. So so I want to urge those who have not done so, go to the SEOqueen.net and download my ebook, 101 Ways to Improve Your Marketing and Sales. I would love for you to download that book. There's a lot of great value in that book. And then I also want you to see the pinned comment about my Reach More Clients power session. You know, if you want to get to the top of your niche by being on Google Page One and get your share of the 1.2 trillion searches that are happening on Google alone, then book a Reach More Clients power session with me so we can identify your best transactional keywords, because people are looking for, items on sale. People are looking for services. They're looking for things that they're looking for the products, the services, the content that you offer online. Remember, there are over 1.2 trillion searches happening on Google alone annually. And remember, only 9% of business owners are using YouTube. Only 9% are using video marketing. So this means that there is a golden opportunity for you to get your content out there and for your content to be seen by your ideal prospect. Absolutely. So we have a little bit less than 10 minutes left. And so I just wanted to let people who have just joined that this is a live Q&A session. This is a live Q&A session, and you can ask any question you have about getting onto Google Page One. Now, when you are looking for, thank you, Ramondo. I just saw that. Thank you so much for that compliment. Thank you for that comment. When you're looking to get onto Google Page One, there are over 200 factors by which you could optimize your content to get on Google Page One. However, I would urge you to start number one. Make sure your website is submitted and indexed by Google. And you can do that by going to google.com/webmasters and submitting your website there. You have to verify your website by installing the code that they give you in the interface on your website properly. And then once your website is actually verified, then you can submit your website to Google using your crawl bucket through the fetch command. You can submit your website content to Google via the sitemap. And you can also see within this interface what HTML improvements you need to make. You can see which pages are getting indexed, which ones are not. And you can always tell you have 500 times a month to do this. You can say, Google, please crawl this page on my site. So that's really, really helpful. We talked about the importance of social media. Social media is very important because a large part of the algorithm is your content being shared? Is it being talked about? Do people like your content? Is it important? And so the more times you share your website, the more times you share your content online, the more visibility you will get. Now, we also talked about backlinks. Backlinks are very, very important. And I also recommended that you tweet out your pages and also pin on Pinterest your webpage content that needs to be ranked. And then I also talked the importance of website security and website hosting. I talked about how important it is for you to have a secured server hosting service for your website that serves up your content at fast server speeds so that you can get your maximum visibility on Google. Again, this is Z Scott, the SEO Queen. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me today. It was definitely a privilege and an honor and my pleasure being with you today. And finally, I just wanted to let you know, if you want to get to the top of your niche by being on Google Page One and get your share of the 1.2 trillion searches that are happening on Google annually, just on Google alone, then book a Reach More Clients power session with me. And in this session, we will identify your best transactional keywords that will bring your ideal prospect to you so that you can get this traffic, and also identify other issues that are holding your website back from getting the visibility and keyword rankings that you know that your website can get. Again, my name is Z Scott, the SEO Queen. Thank you so much and have a great day.